Now to the ongoing Trump Organization criminal probe and new details from the indictment. The Washington Post reporting that internal spreadsheets kept by the Trump Organization that tallied the hidden payments provided a roadmap for prosecutors. Prosecutors treating the spreadsheets as, quote, the accounting equivalent of a confession. And like his kids, Trump himself can't keep his mouth shut. At a rally in Florida, he admits the crime in public and downplays the criminal charges.
They go after good, hard-working people for not paying taxes on a company car. Company car. You didn't pay tax on the car or a company apartment. You used an apartment because you need an apartment because you have to travel too far where your house says you didn't pay tax. Or education for your grandchildren. I don't even know. Do you have to? But does anybody know the answer to that stuff? Okay? But they indict people for that.
This is my confession. Does anyone even know the answer to that? Yes, I do. Off-the-book schemes are illegal. Now, where this case goes next is anyone's guess. Prosecutors are still pressuring indicted CFO Alan Weisselberg to start talking. And now, Mary Trump is out with a stunning claim about who might flip first.
There will be other people who might be more willing to flip than Alan. And I think among those might well indeed be my cousins.
Oh, interesting. Like the Trump kids?
Ivanka also received, I don't remember the amount,
yes,
but hundreds of thousands
money.
of dollars in quote unquote consulting fees. That's not a thing. You're either an employee or you're not an employee. So I think we're going to find a lot more of that kind of thing going on. And she's much less likely to stay loyal than Alan Weisselberg.
Joining me now for our opening argument series is former acting U.S. Solicitor General Neil Katyal. Neil, I have to start with this. This idea that Ivanka could be the first or most likely member of the Trump family to flip amazes me. And I want to show you some footage here of what we think that conversation might be like and get your thoughts on the other side.
He's our dad, but he was going to send me to jail. He'd do the same to all of us.
Shiva, you okay?
Are you part of this family or not?
If I back you against Dad, you would need to let me take over.
Whoa, Nelly.
I like Succession, and the new trailer just dropped. But basically, I can imagine this is the conversation within the family right now, right? I mean, if some of Donald Trump's children are thinking, I could flip on my dad, or at least I could slip some information that might cut me a better deal. Do you think that is likely? And if so, what are the kinds of things that they would have to offer that would potentially get their father in trouble, the former disgraced two-time impeached president, but not also put them in the hot seat?
So, Jason, I first just have to say thank you for that segment you just did with Joy. It's an extraordinary conversation you had on an extraordinary day for Howard. And I think you just captured it and enjoyed it so well. And I can't thank you enough for that. Now, with respect to Ivanka, look, I mean, I guess I'm of two minds of this. First, Donald Trump raised his kids to put themselves first. And so we might see Ivanka reminding Trump of his own favorite advice. You know, it's nothing personal. It's just business. So that's one side of it. The other is, you know, there are really serious allegations here. You heard Donald Trump say in his, whatever rally thing on Saturday, oh, everyone does it and so on, do people not pay taxes on fringe benefits? Yeah, sure. Sometimes. Does the CFO of a company? No. And while keeping two separate sets of books, no way. And the most important piece of writing since this indictment came down, if our listeners are going to look at one thing, it's this piece that Dan Shaviro wrote in Just Security. Dan Shaviro is like a NYU law professor. He's no ideologue, and he's read the indictment. And what he says is, look, this is not a fringe benefits case. That's what Donald Trump wants to portray it as. It's fraud. Plain and simple. He says, it's two sets of books. Anyone who does this, he says, would be indicted at both the state and the federal level. So it's not surprising you see Trump going on with the rally and so on. For him, it's kind of like we're at the election night stage of the investigation. He's taking a victory lap for the same reason he did on November 4th, because he knows the next results are not going to be so kind to him. And that's with or without Ivanka and Weisselberg and all the others.
So just for the layman out there, if your organization is keeping 2 sets of books, right? The only reason you would be doing that is because you are either not paying taxes or you're using the money in some way that you haven't publicly stated. That makes sense to me. That makes sense to anybody who's seen 3 episodes of Law and Order. What confuses me is how could the Trump organization be either so stupid or so lazy as to have that information somewhere where it can be found? Is that something that we often see in criminal organizations, Neil, where somebody just keeps them on a spreadsheet in Excel, or was this a result of a very serious investigation or somebody on the inside flipping?
Jason, are you really confused? I mean, really? I mean, Donald Trump, it thinks he's above the law. So like the insouciance that he has and, he's not as smart as a mafia. He runs the thing like they've run the thing like a mafia organized crime organization, except for the competence that they have. It's disrespectful to the mob, basically. So it's not surprising that you see 2 sets of books like this and all the other shenanigans. And I think the hard thing now is we've seen the state move against the Trump organization and against Alan Weisselberg, the CFO. The question I have, and it's teed up nicely by the Dan Shaviro article, is what is the U.S. Justice Department and the IRS going to do? Because Shaviro says, look, if there's any other time, whenever this happens at the federal level, we prosecute. So I want to make sure that Trump gets the same rule book, not a harsher rule book. I just want him to get the same rule book as every other American. And the idea that, it's only $1 million and that's nothing to the Trumps and Weisselbergs of the world. Well, it sure is to every American. And so, I think this has got to be looked at by the Justice Department.